Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're digging into this really fascinating story about a senior developer, a super powerful AI tool, and a brand new junior colleague who, without even trying, held the key to unlocking its real power. Okay, so it all kicks off with this quote. It's a pretty unsettling thought from a senior developer named Timothy. He's watching a colleague, someone who's literally just 3 weeks into her first job, and he has this sudden realization that she's using their AI coding assistant in a way that's, well, better than he is. That feeling really stuck with him, and it pushed him to have a big conversation with his mentor, Margaret. And what they figured out is a huge lesson for any expert, really in any field, who's trying to get their head around a new, game-changing tool like AI. So what was this junior developer doing that was so different? Well, for starters, she was asking the AI everything. She'd ask it to explain itself, to justify why it picked one solution over another. Why? Because she was a beginner. She didn't have years of ingrained habits telling her how things should be done. She was basically treating the AI like a teacher, not just a tool to get stuff done. And that brings us right to the heart of the problem for people with a lot of experience. As Margaret, the mentor, explains, expertise can be a real double-edged sword. Right, and what's so cool about this is how it breaks down that paradox. On the one hand, yeah, your experience gives you this amazing ability to recognize patterns. It makes you fast, efficient, it helps you sidestep all the common mistakes. But that same strength can build these invisible walls around you, blinding you to totally new ways of thinking. You just stop asking the basic questions because you figure you already know the answers. And boom, here's the big aha moment for Timothy. He admits it out loud. He's been using the AI just to confirm what he already thinks is the right way to go. He's not using it to find new ideas. He's using it to execute his old ones, just faster. And this just lays out the difference perfectly. The junior developer, she's using open prompts. She asks a question and is genuinely waiting for an answer, which gives the AI room to actually surprise her. Timothy, the senior dev, is using closed prompts, the kind of prompts that kind of already have the answer baked right into them. His focus isn't on learning, it's all about execution. So this brings us to the single most powerful thing the junior developer was doing, and it's also the absolute simplest. It's a habit that most experts honestly have probably forgotten they ever had. Timothy calls out this specific habit that just blew his mind. He says he almost never asks the AI to explain its reasoning. And why would he? He's a senior engineer. He can just look at the code and figure out the logic himself, right? But Margaret points out there's a really subtle but critical flaw in that thinking. So why is asking why such a big deal? Well, this simple little question, this act of interrogating the AI, it unlocks two huge benefits that an expert who's confident they can just fill in the blanks is probably going to miss out on completely. First, you get the AI's actual reasoning, not just the reasoning you think it used. And trust me, those two things might not be the same at all. And second, you build the super important habit of interrogation. It forces you to never just blindly accept what the tool spits out, which is a massive safeguard against sneaky but really significant errors. Okay, so the big point here isn't that experts need to forget everything they know and become beginners all over again. No, not at all. The real goal is to learn how to ask a beginner's questions, but with all the power of an expert's deep context and understanding. It's the best of both worlds. And Margaret gives a name to this huge blind spot for experts, the invisible assumption. It's all that knowledge you have that's operating in the background, filtering your questions before you even finish typing them. It's like your own expertise is accidentally censoring your curiosity. And this just reframes the whole thing, doesn't it? For an expert using a new tool, the most important skill to learn isn't really technical. It's not about getting better at writing prompts or planning your work. It's the mental discipline to consciously choose to put your assumptions on the shelf and just ask the simple question anyway. Okay, so what does this actually look like in practice? How do you do this day to day? Timothy asks for some concrete steps, and Margaret gives him a really clear, practical toolkit that any expert can use to start breaking free from their own invisible assumptions. Here are the big takeaways, the stuff you can actually do. Instead of telling the AI how to solve a problem, ask it to come up with an approach first. Instead of asking for one answer, ask it for 3 completely different ones. And, my personal favorite, you can actually ask the AI to argue against your preferred idea. Ask it to tell you what a smart colleague might find wrong with your plan. This is the key shift in your thinking. You start using the AI not just as a machine for getting things done fast, but as a sparring partner, a counterweight to your own certainty. Look, your certainty is probably correct most of the time, but as Margaret says, right and examined is worth more than right and assumed. And that brings us to the final, really powerful idea from this whole story. For a junior developer, being curious and asking a million questions isn't really a choice. It's just what they have to do to survive. It's their circumstance. But for a senior developer, for any expert, choosing to be curious, choosing to ask that simple question, that is a deliberate, disciplined, and incredibly powerful act. So the real question is, what assumptions are you ready to start questioning?